You see, as a connoisseur of film, I've watched a lot of film. I've even watched some of my favorite actresses in some of the worst films I've ever seen them in, but they chose those positions. They chose those films, but the films might not have been cut the way that they would have liked them to. In other words, they weren't necessarily ended the way that they should have been. And openly, the end of Harry Potter the last time around was satisfying at one point and sort of discouraging at another, but we have now a new film coming out, which is sort of fascinating to me, that the children of those films, after having lost a few of them, and through the years, literally they've died, are going back to that film. But people have valued the lessons from that film, because we don't know what creatures of the Lost Lagoon are out there. We don't know what the swamp lions have produced with the immoral behavior of swamp people, but we don't have a tongue-in-cheek attitude about it, and that is what gives aliens from foreign lands, the outlanders if you will, some latitude to piss all over us with the technology that their countries are requiring them to study. Now, whether it keeps the sane people safer, or whether it keeps the children of those countries and nations more abused, I cannot say. But trying to reprogram someone to something they're not is never God's way. You see, any family that has a gay child will start to try to reprogram that child to say, okay, somebody abused you, therefore you're only interested in this, you're fearful of that, and the answer is no, they're not. Now, that does sometimes occasionally happen by the power of choice of someone deciding to have an intimate relationship with someone that they are physically, intimately, and socially attracted to. That is a part of human sexuality experimentation, human to human. But most of us, I would like to believe, are still feeling that we have the right to decide our intimate interactions. But what's been happening to me with regard to the cutting off of my beard is an absolute human relationship issue, but it's also a total humiliation of the shitbag sheriff, bitch, dyke, lesbian, assholes, whoever the fuck is doing this to me. And if they're doing it publicly, like taking somebody and making them cluck like a chicken, then they are shitbags of Satan. But if they're doing it because they think they're going to redistribute someone, they are foolish about God's plan for you and me. You see, the arrogant men of America would love that switch button where they could turn a demure, really holy girl into a Playboy bunny, but that's not okay with me. And that's immoral. I've seen plenty of black brothers hopping down the street with their fucking pants dropping down below their ass, below their dicks, in front of their daughters, or in front of their sisters, or in front of their cousins. I am offended. Because in the real world of men, those of us who worked hard, built a family, cared for our families, paid for the food, paid for the roof, and literally worked in those two-incomes households the way that the Lord God planned us to, or that the way that the government allowed us to through special accommodations, did not ever ask one fucking sibling or parent for permission to do so. And where I was going with that, I sort of lost my train of thought, but what I can say to you is you're immoral. And no fucking time do you have the right to take some stranger's clothes off without them even knowing it. But how arrogant men are in front of God.